Hello everybody and welcome to our Wednesday BVNA webinar. This is starting to be quite a regular occurrence every week. So welcome everybody. We're just waiting for attendees to join. It does take a few seconds for everyone to connect to the webinar. So whilst everybody is shuffling into the room, I am just attempting to stream live on Facebook at the same time. So fingers crossed that works okay this week. So that's just going through and connecting as we speak. Fantastic. We've got everyone coming in now. Brilliant. So welcome everybody. My name is Wendy Nevins. I am currently Senior Vice President of BVNA. On the webinar this evening, we also have Joe Oakton, current Junior Vice President of BVNA. Our webinar this evening is being presented by Libby. I have known Libby a long time, so I will just have to check with her bio to do the official intro. But Libby is talking to us this evening, and I'm very much looking forward to a presentation. Before I hand over to Libby, just to make sure you get the best out of your webinar experience this evening, you may get audio disturbances if you're connected through Wi-Fi rather than a wired connection. If the audio deteriorates, you can dial in on the telephone, so you can still see the presentation on your screen, but then hear the audio on the telephone. To do that, you need to grab your telephone numbers, which you can get in the audio settings. There's a black toolbar, depending what device you're on. It may be at the top or the bottom of your screen, and there's a mic symbol. If you click the little up arrow, you can go into audio settings and grab your phone numbers to be able to dial in. There is a chat box at the bottom right of your screen. If you have any questions, then please do type them in there. So Libby is going to talk to us this evening about Tame Your Team, how to get through the return to practice and stay sane. Libby was a consultant in the city delivering change management and business development before she then retrained as a vet. She graduated in 2011 from the University of Cambridge with a Pfizer Prize for Outstanding Achievement. A lifelong student of behavioural psychology, she took the opportunity whilst there to also undertake a degree in biological and biomedical science, major in behaviour, specifically neuromechanisms. I think she's quite clever and very well qualified to talk to us this evening. So without any further ado, I shall mute myself while I battle with the Facebook Live and hand over to you, Libby. I'm really looking forward to your presentation.
Thank you, Wendy. Lovely introduction as ever. Hi, everybody. I'm not really that clever. I just figured out some things that you can do consistently to make yourself really powerful in whatever it is you're trying to do. And I'm going to be giving you some of those tonight. Genuinely, I left school with nothing. And so it's a miracle that I have these letters after my name. And as Wendy said, it was from Cambridge. And I'll tell you a little bit of my story as we go through, but it's not about me tonight. I'll tell you where I learned some of these cool things. I teach behaviour and business psychology, and I coach people one-to-one towards peak performance as well. And I help them get unstuck and survive difficult times and come out the other side. So the title for today is Tame Your Team, because this weird life we're living right now has never been more tricky. The subtitle of today's talk is How Neuroplasticity Will Help You Survive the Zombie Apocalypse. Because let's take a minute, because we've got a situation that we've never had before. We've had 3 billion people in lockdown around the globe. That's never happened. It's like some weird film. So things are changing and our behaviours have to change. With that, we're at a break point in society and we need a new toolkit, guys. Things are never going to be the same. I'm going to tell you obviously about the science around things and why I'm sharing this stuff with you. And you'll come out with 5 things that you can personally do, super practical things right now to help you get through this. Because what you feel directly impacts your quality of life and the lives of those around you. And we need to feel better right now. So here's, by way of introduction, I'm going to introduce you to my cupboard. I'm usually to be found travelling the country, visiting vets in practice and training whole practice teams on this cool stuff that I'm going to give you tonight. I'm usually therefore living out of a hotel room at various different points around the country. And I'm not kidding, I was this much of a hoarder before this happened. Why? Because I built a strategy around the fact that I often get back at midnight. Tesco's is not appealing at that time of night. I hate running out of stuff. So here it all is, bought months in advance. Look at all my hand wash. I was well ahead of the curve on this. So it's just about the idea that all behaviour is designed to solve a problem, not be a problem. boy, we are really going to have to remember that in these next few months as we go through. And by the way, guys, that goes for your kids as well as your spouse and well as your team. So we need to get an understanding of why do people do what they do. So let me ask you, are you sitting comfortably? And I just want you to turn your eyes up to your ceiling. Just do this right now for me. Just have a look above you. And just imagine there's a little trickle of dust suddenly, and you hear a creaking sound, and suddenly a chunk of plaster falls down from the corner of the room under which you're sitting. Would your behaviour change right now? Yeah, you bet your boots it would. Your body language would change, your breathing rate would change, your posture might suddenly throw itself across the room to get the hell out of the way, because we only can sit here in the position we're in, breathing the way we're breathing, because of our beliefs around the certainty of the situation. We are certain that ceiling is not going to fall in, right? But here's the thing. I'm going to take you back to the last time a ceiling was falling in on the world, the last time we faced a world crisis like this. The difference is this was only for 2 days, 3 days at the most. Our flights were grounded, our lives were changed for that period of time when we lived in fear. Guys, we have now been living in fear state for too long. Our bodies are exhausted. We are getting to the point where we have to change things because we've had our certainty taken away from us. You behave differently. And feelings make chemicals. The adrenaline surge changes the blood flow to your brain. Your brain uses different circuits. So we all need certainty. It's one of our 6 human needs. And we'll discuss that later because that on its own is enough just to freak you out. So perhaps as you're listening to me and we're talking about this idea of certainty, you might be one of those people who is a returner to work and you're feeling anxious about the threat to you and your loved ones, quite rightly. You might equally be a returner who's really stuck because you've got no reliable childcare. You don't know what's going to happen. You can't use the parents that you would have used before, or your nursery's shut. You might be one of those returning who's worried about getting it all wrong because suddenly there's systems and protocols that you've never done, and your beloved job is suddenly a place that's now unfamiliar and scary. Perhaps you're one of those that's been working all the way through this whole shebang and you're just bloody exhausted. And by the way, guys, even if you've been furloughed, we're a bit exhausted too, right? It's not an easy gig being at home with kids all over the place. Perhaps you're the one responsible for building those shiny new protocols and you're actually worried, much as you love your beloved colleagues, you're actually worried they're going to come in and wreck everything that you've just worked so hard for. And so there's a bit of anxiety around that as well. Maybe you're just feeling a little bit end of tether and a bit crap. That's a technical phrase. I learned that at Cambridge. Maybe you're having trouble sleeping, or maybe you're just getting really snappy with everyone around you and you're just not as empathetic because you don't understand why you're just not as productive anymore right now. So whatever your story is, whichever one of these pots you might fit into and any I might not have mentioned, I'm going to give you some strategy to get through all this. And that's not just survive, but to actively thrive, guys, because this will be firstly the neurology of what's happening in your brain, because if we know better, we can do better. Then I'm going to teach you how we can activate your neuroplasticity and how that will hopefully change the world. So I hope that sounds good because bluntly, we're going to need to think of our teams in the coming months as if we're in some weird, screwed up, dysfunctional relationship. You're effectively codependents now. You need each other, but it's a little bit like Frankie Goes to Hollywood. 2 tribes go to war. Because we're told to take full responsibility for our feelings, right? And guess what? This isn't always healthy. If we get triggered by someone that messes with our certainty, and again, I've used that big word, I'm coming back to certainty in a bit, it's a big behavioural concept and I'll unpack it a little bit for you. If we have nowhere to go with our feelings, then guess what? Our team dynamic suffers. Because as soon as we're triggered, we go into chimp brain. And I'm going to be covering that for you. Because guys, we need each other more than ever. We're in a time of strain. And I'm going to be giving you all this cool stuff that really works. How do I know? Because as Wendy said, I wasn't always in this space. I used to have a business in the city. 2001, 9/11 happened. I crashed my business overnight. And I made this crazy decision to go and be a vet. Great idea. Along the way, yes, I did the other degree while I was there. I also decided to pop out a baby, which is perhaps not the most sensible thing to do. And here she is on the right when I graduated from a vet degree. By the way, guys, she's not that cute now. She's 14. I got a hand the other day. It's very stressful being with someone surgically attached to a device. I don't know if any of you are dealing with that pain at the moment. But how do I know this stuff works? Because I've lived it. I've trialed all of this stuff in real life. And the thing is, everything I'm going to tell you today is scientifically proven evidence-based methods that I've personally tested out. And whatever happens, if you learn to manage your mindset, then you can manage others around you, and you can manage your state, and you can manage their state. So we've never needed this more. We're usually so busy doing, and now is this time to stop and think about it and make time to rebuild yourself. And it starts from within. I'm going to teach you how. So we're going to do 3 big pieces, and then we're going to finish with getting super practical, as I said, about 5 things you can actively do, because I really believe everything happens for a reason. You're tuning in tonight. Thank you for giving me your attention. I know how knackered we all are. I know how zoomed out we all are. So I really appreciate the gift of your time. I don't take it lightly. I'm going to deliver as much value as I can. This is my mission, is teaching people how to tame your brain and tame your team. And so let's go. We're going to learn about these critical things. The first is the 6 human needs and Maslow. And this is the why we're feeling a bit rocky. Why have these changes thrown us? Why is my brain hurting? Then we're going to cover the when and the where. When and where does this show up? And by the way, guys, if you're not seeing this yet, the team frictions are going to happen. And you're going to look really clever if you can come up with, oh, yes, well, it's just Maslow's hierarchy of needs and chimp management. And yeah, you're ahead of the curve. Then we're going to do the how. How do I change this? How can we skill up to get through unscathed and upgrade our comms power in a team? And by the way, guys, I'm going to be giving away a freebie profile at the end. I'm going to be doing a little handout of 3 profile tokens to people that email me, so you can get in quick if you're an action taker, and go to kemkaren.com. I think Wendy's got the link to drop in the chat box for us. Because I'm going to be gifting that to people, because I really care about the fact. I've been talking to my vet nurse friends today in the bigger world, and they are struggling. They're struggling. People are telling me all the things that they're having to deal with, and it's really hard. So go to kemkaren.com, scroll down, fill in the little sign-up box that pops up there, and then I'll be doing that giveaway at the end. So before we cover these 3 biggies, we're going to be doing a little chat about anxiety and our brain patterns and mirror neurons, because we need to get your brain engaged. Mirror neurons explains why. And we're then going to finish with 5 things to do right now that will hopefully change the world of everyone around us. So I hope that sounds good. So life's a little bit like my poor beleaguered Mac. There's too many tabs open, can't find what I'm looking for, frantically scrolling back and forth. So do I want to save changes? I don't know. I don't know what I just did. And then it freezes up, and then you need to reboot. So there's all these things that we're dealing with. And this is a powerful analogy of the overriding truth of what practice looks like right now. So we're going to do something. We're going to get active, because it helps your brain learn. So I'd like you all to go to your phone and open up a browser and just type in on the right there, slido.com, and pull up Slido. I've opened up a poll for you. The hashtag is Tame Your Team. So if you can please go there. And I've got a word cloud. I want you to give me 5 words you're feeling right now about either returning to work or the rest of your team coming back to work, or how you're feeling about being in work. We're just going to build a little word cloud. So go to slido.com, and the poll's open now. Type in the hashtag where it says your event number or your event registration. Put in Tame Your Team. And then I want you to just put in, don't think too hard, guys. Just give me 5 words that you're feeling right now about this return to work piece and working under these conditions. So that's slido.com, hashtag Tame Your Team. And I've opened that poll for you to just go and complete. So just go and have a little look. Thank you. The votes are coming in now. I can see them building up nicely. So just 5 words. Again, don't think too hard. Just tell me how you're feeling, and just black that on there. And I'll be posting this out in the Facebook group. It's all anonymous. Your boss isn't going to find out. You're safe, honest. Thank you, guys. Those are coming in thick and fast now. Well done. So if you haven't done it yet, go and pick up your phone, go to Slido and type in hashtag Tame Your Team, and then that will come through to that little word cloud. So I'm going to crack on. In terms of what we're dealing with, we've got a lot on our plates. What's it like for you? What are you dealing with? Because guess what? Taming your team starts from within. It starts from you. It starts from you being in a mental place of resources, about your resilience, your ability to bounce back and deal with it and roll with the punches. Because guys, it's blooming hard right now. I get it. And I really feel you. We'll look at what we can do step by step. Thank you, those votes are coming in beautifully. Right, I'm going to move on to this bit now. So in my head, this is me. It's not, but wish it was with my noble steed. How we hold pictures in our head is not reality. The map you hold is not the terrain actually under your feet, but it's our reality, but it may not be your actuality. And I'll say that again, it's your belief system. Your reality may not be the actuality, because the map we hold in our head is not the terrain under your feet, the dirt under your shoes. And this is why it's important when we talk about team harmony and the comms between people, because you will have a perception of the people around you. You will have a belief system about why they're behaving the way they're doing. I'm going to help you with that tonight, but I'm going to help you with your own belief layers as well. And as we talk through this, I want you to just hold this picture in your head, because we all form a model of the world based on what we think we know. And I'm going to make this really clear. Your beliefs form your behaviours, which form your communications. And I'm going to say that again, because this is the central core teaching of everything I do. Your beliefs form your behaviours, which form your communications. You've got this picture in your head of what you need to say to someone based on their behaviour and yours, and those come from your beliefs. So why does that matter? What do you see here? Have a look. You know what you think you're seeing, right? We know what this picture normally means. Were you expecting this? No, of course you weren't. Because you were thinking about a spoon based on what you thought you knew. We see what we expect and our brain fills in the gaps. Imagine your brain, your poor tiny brain, trying to cope with going back into this weird unknown world. And I'm going to talk more about that in a bit as to where this anxiety is coming from. You want a spoon, you expect a spoon, but you already know it's not going to be like that, right? And why does your brain see a spoon here? Because it's what we expect. You've got something called a reticular activating system, and it's busy filtering your environment based on what you believe to be important. And this is something called confirmational bias. More on that later. In the meantime, here's my car. Have you ever done that thing where you get a new car and you're driving along, and then suddenly you see another one coming towards you on the roads, and you go, oh, look at that. And it's the same make and model as yours. Were they there all along? Of course. Did you notice them? No, your brain had no reason to notice them. It just wasn't relevant. So the RAS filters your environment just because of the sheer volume of data that is being thrown at us all the blooming time. We have got 14 billion neurons firing off at 450 miles an hour. My old Bessie can't go that fast. It's using up your oxygenated glucose to have this firing going on if you don't need it. So our brain chooses for us which circuits to run based on our belief systems. So returners' brains are currently in their head expecting to see business as usual, and instead you're collecting cats from car parks and you're euthanizing with the owner sobbing outside. And I've heard firsthand how much stress this is causing you guys. You're a caring profession. It's hurting you to do things in this different way. Everything's taking so much longer, and it's horrendous with the furloughed receptionists, and some vets are trying to do the admin. How horrific is that? I can only imagine the carnage. Never let a vet near your admin. We just break it. And you guys are struggling with phones ringing off the hook and booster reminders getting sent out from head office when you can't even get through your daily list. And guys, I really feel for you. It sounds like a nightmare. Those returners are in touch on WhatsApp groups, but still nothing prepares you for the reality. But this can dramatically change depending on one thing. And that's what we're zooming in on today. And that's which circuits you run in your brain. Because if you can't change the reality, you can shift your perception of reality by switching circuits. Let's make this clear. So another little thought piece for you. Imagine you're at home. Picture yourself on your sofa. You're watching a film with a glass of wine. So visualize yourself on your sofa. Really put yourself there, because it's going to resonate with you more. Imagine you hear footsteps upstairs. Now, you know your partner, your spouse, your child, whatever is upstairs pootling around. So you hear those footsteps and you feel, if we were to name some feelings now, we'd say something like safe, calm, happy. Well, depends how much they've hacked you off by being in lockdown. But providing they haven't hacked you off, so you want to kill them yet, imagine you're safe, you're calm, you're happy. But now imagine that same scenario, except this time you remember you left the bathroom window open earlier. And you imagine yourself to be alone in the house, and then you hear those same footsteps. What happens now? What do you feel? Same stimulus, same neural input of an audible sound of footsteps on the stairs, but completely different context. What meaning have you given it now? Will your behaviour change? Yeah, you bet. You're going to grab a baseball bat and dial 999. Here's the thing, guys. Nothing has any meaning other than the meaning we give it. We apply meaning based on context. Neuroplasticity means, quite simply, choosing the context of what we see. We can completely change the meaning we give something and become hugely more effective at surviving this zombie apocalypse. It's called neuroassociative conditioning. I've been doing it since 2001. And so you need to think for me, how can I see this differently? So here's some monkeys. How you see things in the next few months is going to depend on your ability to do what these monkeys do. Something called the mirror neuron system, discovered by Rizzolatti, done with functional MRIs. And the thing that happens that's really curious is when one monkey eats banana, the monkey that's watching has exactly the same circuits fire up in their head as the one eating the banana. It's really curious. And this is why human society has evolved like it has. And there's loads of data on this, but all you need to know is that our brains are able to adopt the behaviour of someone we're watching, which is truly remarkable when you look at how our brains cope in a situation. So what we've covered is a little bit about the threat levels. I'm going to talk a bit more about that because this is the source of a lot of our anxiety, and this is a source of a lot of the what's going on at the moment. Equally, I'm going to mesh it in with this piece about certainty so we understand why our poor little neurons are just trying to help us. They're just trying to help. The trouble is they're creating such manifest problems by trying to help, and we need to learn how to change that. So here we go. The stuff that we are dealing with, let me be really blunt about the threat level, because with our mirror neurons, we are taking on the trouble of the world. You read something, you feel it. You see something on the news, you feel it. There is too much threat at the moment right now. People are feeling everything because of these pesky little mirror neurons. Those numbers that are mounting up, our death tolls. Do you remember where you were when you heard about the first death from corona? How did you feel then? And how you feel now? We've had to numb out, haven't we? We've had to make it just a number because we can't keep feeling that level of pain. And let me be really blunt about this, because it's these big bad boys are why our scary circuits have got all fired up, and why you're losing sleep, why you're feeling ratty, why you've lost empathy, because you've got nothing more to give. And then you move through that phase, and we move into that, I'm just going to have to cope, I'm just going to have to get through it. It's because we've got these three-level threat. We've lost certainty in three key areas. One is behavioural. We don't even go to Tesco in the same way. Think about that. There's new rules, there's new ways of being. Our kids aren't in school. They're just fighting and eating everything and breaking everything else. And we don't socialise or go to the pub with our mates. We don't go on holiday. Our behavioural threat is huge. These are massive pillars that hold up the roof that is normal. It's all gone. No wonder our ceiling's falling down. We've also got a cognitive threat. We're spending more time online round with complete strangers because everybody's an epidemiologist, right? Our government isn't leading. We've all had to call it ourselves with regards to, do we go to school? Do we not go to school? Like, how stressful is that? Usually we've got absolute certainty on that one piece. We don't have that anymore. We've got a physical threat. We've lost certainty. And I laugh in a slightly horrified way. We've lost certainty on being able to be alive. This is what's called a mortal threat. We have very little experience in this, guys. So we've switched on our panic circuits, and they are showing up as all sorts of things. This idea of this novel threat is causing manifest headaches, stomach aches, rashes. Some kids I know have developed shingles, a classic immune shake-up response. These are all just symptoms of what's going on, which is that we've been under a chemical attack in our brains for too long. We urgently need to calm the circuits. We need to switch systems, guys, or we're going to crash hard. We've lost our first human need, and that's something really important. That's this certainty piece. Certainty is first. We've also lost this other important one called variety, by not being able to have our holidays and our breaks and our time off. And we're working on this treadmill if we are at work, and if we're at home, we're on this treadmill of how the hell do I entertain a toddler? You know, we've got these things that are no longer the norm, and we've lost both certainty and variety. We're trapped, we're bored, we're stressed. Change creates a hideous feeling in our brains because it should. It's there to keep us safe. It makes us move away from the edge. It's like a sentry on the ship shouting, watch out, rocks over there. And it adds in anxiety to force you to make a move to choose safety. But here's the thing. It may not be the actuality, but it is your reality. So remember that spoon. We set our behaviours based on our beliefs about what something means to us, and we can change that. So Maslow made a pretty pyramid, and Maslow states that when your base needs are met, so that bottom layer, that physiological down here, when those are met, only then can we move up to the next layer. When those needs are met, then we can move up to the next layer. And when those needs are met, we can move up to the next layer. So look what has to happen before we can respect others and be respected by others, team harmony. All of these have got to be safe. Are they? Not so much. We've still got a disease that risks our very breathing. We've got a risk of unemployment if we don't get our figures back up. We've got a risk of resources. There's no food on this. You know, there's all of this threat at these base levels. No wonder we're feeling rocky, guys. There are reasons. There are real, huge biological reasons about this. And you can forget about any of these grand ideas like helping other people if you're struggling with these lower level needs. So we keep getting pushed by all this going on. Here's some brain shizzle. This is my last bit of boring brainy stuff before we get on to the good stuff. So this is all of the stuff that's going on right now. We're triggered in this limbic system. Our amygdala is freaking out. We are being pushed into what's called amygdala hijack. Uncertainty causes us to go primitive. Once there's a literal risk of death, a mortal threat, our amygdala exists to save us. So it creates a sense of anxiety to force us to make a decision to move away from death. But we can't, can we? But we need to calm the circuits. We need to stop the amygdala freaking out, because guess which brain, if you live in it most of the time, is going to cause burnout? Yeah, you're right, the amygdala. We can't live there, guys. So we're in peak adrenaline mode. The threat system's got activated, emotional thinking happens, we stop using our executive brain, and chimp and friction happens. So we need to move. We need to move out of this fight or flight, or to put it another way, aggression and avoidance. Those are the two behaviours we see in a team. And this is why the same situation can make two different people react in two different ways. It depends what circuit they're running. Because when we learn how to calm the circuits and move back to this executive prefrontal, we get to do a move from this horrible, scary place, which causes our brain to shut down. And this is a fancy word. You can go back to your family tonight and say, well, I've just learned about the hypothalamic pituitary axis. It's very, very posh. So we move out of this and we move into a dopamine system where the same situation can actually give you a nice happy high on the nice useful brain drugs. Dopamine's a great feeling when we think we're achieving something. If we think we're under threat, guys, we never feel good. And then we can move from the dopamine into this self-soothing thing. And by the way, these are your Schedule 4 behaviours. These are the ones which are, you know, watch Netflix, drink a whole lot of gin. We have to move into this to calm the circuits when we've been in this too much. So I'm going to teach you how to do it without gin, which is sometimes useful. Now, we've just talked about some really big, heavy concepts. So here's a little brain break. And why do I do this? Because your brain can only do so much, guys. And look at this cute thing. It's learning how to wash by watching mum. And it's like, oh, am I doing it right? I'm sort of over here. And I just want to give you a little message of be kind to yourself, guys, because you are effectively running the circuits that you've learned. Who did you watch when you were growing up? How did they deal with crisis? Because guess what? Your tribal cycle means that you'll probably run those circuits first before you learn to know better, do better. And so be kind to yourself. You're a newborn kitten and you're dealing with a lot on your plate. So if you see yourself freaking out, I'm going to teach you some circuit breakers that you can use to get yourself back in happy kitten mode. And I love this, just gets bored, just start biting mum. Kill your foot. So when you feel yourself losing the plot, that's okay too. Those feelings we have, they're a physical response to a stress system overload. You're getting physical response to cortisol overload. It's not a personal failure. So I'm just going to make that a bit more obvious. Let's talk about where these frictions come from and where we see chimp behaviours stemming from, because it's really important that you understand this. If you're feeling a little bit flaky and inconsistent, just remember, stress makes us stupid. Your brain is unsure what to brace for next or what the next month will hold. So it deliberately takes blood flow away from your circuits that are all about forward planning. So you might feel a bit flaky. If you're feeling tired or you're fatigued or you're exhausted, it's because your brain is burning through oxygenated glucose at 10 times the normal rate when you're in stress circuitry. You can't focus because your brain shuts down the functionality in your prefrontal cortex, the part that juggles complex tasks and planning, i.e. being a vet nurse. And this is due to your normal response to stress. If you're feeling a little bit unfocused and you can't strategize, well, you're creatively blocked because your brain has diverted all the creativity ability in solving novel problems to this rather big question of how do I not die, which is kind of useful. So you're in a narrow, slow burn, fight or flight state. And if you are feeling that in terms of trying to make up these new systems at work, yeah, and you will struggle if you're in high adrenaline mode to adapt to new systems. You can't be adaptive to that. And perhaps the biggest one is you really don't care about a long-term plan. You're just getting by. That is completely normal. You won't be on this roller coaster forever, so just be patient with your brain, because you're in full chimp mode at the moment, guys. So the Chimp Model, it's a great book. I don't know if you've read it. It's called The Chimp Paradox, Mind Management. Have a look. It's about survival mode. We go into survival mode when we're under threat. The human is you, your executive brain. You have a personality, you think logically, you work with facts, you work with truths. Normally, you're able to plan for the long term, and having a purpose in life is something you thrive on. Not so much chimp. That is an emotional machine. It thinks independently from us, and it can make decisions. And guess what, guys? The chimp gets to look at every input first. The human only gets to it second. It's not good or bad, it's just a chimp. So we have to almost like not worry about our chimp reactions, but we just have to learn to control them, because it does an emotional thought process. It goes for feelings, impressions, it goes for emotional thinking and comes up with a plan. But it's a plan to keep you safe, to survive, not thrive. Our other side of our brain does facts and truth, it does logical thinking, and comes up with a plan of an action. So it's more evidence-based and fact-driven. Which do you think is more useful as a vet nurse? Yeah, you got it. We want to be in that executive brain, but the jungle kicks in. We run on instincts and anxiety if that's what we're feeling. So I hope you're getting the point of this now and why this all ties together, guys. We've got to learn to switch circuits. We've got to learn to switch into that human brain where we have that self-control. We have that ability to change the world one step at a time. So when we think about this, the biggest thing that I'm going to teach you today is this next piece coming up. So that bit that I said at the beginning about, you know, profiling is so blooming powerful, and I'm going to gift 3 people one of these profiles with an hour debrief with me where I'll talk you through, because it's all about how to speak to people who are not like me. Because by doing that, you can change the world. We all intrinsically know how to speak to people who are like us. We don't know necessarily how to cross that divide. Now, here's a brilliant diagram to show you what we're facing right now. There's something called flow state. We want to be in flow 80% of our life. However, if we have a challenge that's bigger than the skill we have, we fall into this quadrant, which causes anxiety. The converse is also true. If we have too much skill for the challenge presented, we fall into boredom or frustration. Those are equally as annoying. If we get the balance of challenge and skill right, we get to channel this lovely flow state. That's what we want. So profiling tells you what is your natural flow, what are you good at, what do you excel at, and what should you leave well alone. It splits up into these 4 brain types. And if we think about dynamos, they're the sort of head in the clouds, the fast, the very visual energy. They're very much about how to ask what's next, what's coming up. Dynamos are really great at starting things. They are rubbish at finishing things. They need growth and significance. And they're always asking, what's the next big idea? They're good at blue sky thinking. Your practice owner might be a dynamo. Their stress inducers are detailed repetitive tasks, detailed work for too long periods, being on time. Tempos are the opposite of that. Tempos are the finishers of the group. They're amazing at timing. Their keyword is when and where. They're always thinking about other people because they want a fair deal for everybody. And they want people to be connected. But they're very kinesthetic. Don't rush them, and don't do unannounced change. They hate the change that's going on at the moment. They hate chaos. They want everything to be ordered. They've got a clipboard with a spreadsheet, and they want everything to be long-term planned. So they're under stress at the moment. Equally, the people on this side of the quadrant, blazes, these guys are all about variety and connection. So guess what they're struggling with at the moment? You know, they're having to do things that they don't necessarily have a map for, and they're losing that connection with their clients, having to sit in the cars, and the teams, half of them are away. These guys chat all day long. Their best job roles is that supporter, that cheerleader, that arm around your shoulders. So the other side of this is the opposite to that. These guys, Blaze, are all about people. Steel are all about process. Their keyword is how, whereas Blaze's word is who. Who's on my team? Who am I working with? Lots of stories, friendly, chatty. These guys are like, don't talk to me, you're boring me now, just shut up. Steel are all about process. Build me a process and don't mess with my process, because process is more important than people to these guys. They really want things to work. And all of us have got some elements of all of these in us. And when we come up with an idea, like a dynamo will say, let's have a barbecue. And they'll be like, oh, I'll make this recipe for fish cakes I've never made before, but I'm going to start it now, 5 minutes before we're starting. And Blaze will be like, brilliant, let's do karaoke, because they're all about performance and variety and excitement and connecting with people. Tempos will be worried about, have we provided for the vegans? Where are all the chairs? Do we have enough straws? Steel will be there going, do you know it's going to rain at 3? Because their job in a team is about being risk averse. They want things to go right for everybody. So they hold that responsibility of pessimism, and they're valued for that. They're really good at that. Whereas these guys are ridiculously optimistic and never think about things until they're on fire. And they need a tempo to tap them on the shoulder and go, excuse me, that client is going to explode. You've kept them waiting because you've got too much blaze and you're chatting with that other client. So all of these roles have a part to play in a team. And when we look at our talents, because this is all about what you're good at and what you can be valued for in a team and what you can be trusted to absolutely smash it, you know, because there are different things that we do well. I am Blaze Dynamo. Don't give me a spreadsheet because I'll break it for you. And don't let me be in charge of your ops board because I'll ruin that too. Timing is not our strong suit when we live up here. You guys, however, you rock that. You're amazing at timing. And you will always finish a project on time, and you'll know which. Does this all make sense? It all sort of pulls together when we start thinking about what we're good at. So this is the sort of profile you get back when you do a profile with me. And I do go in and profile whole teams of people, and you get like a flair in certain areas. So this person, you can see, he's got a lot of dynamo there. They've not got as much people blaze side. You can see that's the lowest score, but they've got a good sense of tempo and a good steel. So together you can give them things and they might even actually finish them for once. This person is very different. They're a huge blaze flare and they've got dynamo as well. So you can see blaze and dynamo are up there. Not so much on the tempo and even less on the steel. So this person is a star profile. So you get a badge, which is sort of where you sit, but then you get your wings as well. You get the two things that you can move into. Just don't live there. You don't want to live there in your wing profiles because you haven't got as big a gas tank. You just get tired. So roughly the square splits with this side being your extrovert people and this side being more introvert. So these guys can talk all day for a living. They can be front facing, they can be front of house, talking to clients all day long. And then to relax in the evening, they want to talk about what they've just talked about all day. These guys are the opposite. They get exhausted talking. It's not they haven't got people skills, don't get me wrong, but they just get tired doing the people bit. So to recharge, they need to go into a darkened room and close the door and not talk to anybody. So the people at the poles here, they've got a mixture of both. So they can do a front of house role. They can step into either of their wings for a bit, but then they need that darkened room and a rest. So here's an example of someone more on the Lord side, as you can see. And these are all real profiles of people that I've worked with. And when I coach people, I almost insist that they do get a profile because it's so useful to understand what resonates. Because if you look at a team, these are the sort of different spreads that you get within a team. And so this is mine. That's actually my profile there in a team that I worked with a couple of years ago. And you can see I've got a high dynamo, I've got a high blaze, not so much on the tempo and the steel. So I'm not so good at the processes, I'm not so good at the timing, but put me on stage and I will talk at you all day. I'm really happy in this spot. I'm not having to imagine you all naked. This is my wheelhouse. This is what I'm good at. I can also create stuff. So like I create a range of training. You're on my Tame Your Team module tonight, which is something I do go in and deliver in practice. I also have a Tame Your Brain to Get Online, which is a product to help vets and vet nurses escape the trap of swapping your time for money. And it's about building a business online because that's where the new economy is going to be based. Get in touch if you're interested. I'll tell you more about that. So these are our key questions. So when you think about your team going back to work, it screams out of them. I mean, do get me in to do a profile, please, because I'd love to. But you can sort of guess those people who are chatting all day and their keywords are always who, and they want to know about people. These people want to know about process and they're always looking at how can I make it better, is their vibe. These people down here, they're always about that fair deal. When and where do things need to happen for everyone to be safe? These people up here are always thinking about what's the next thing that's going to change? What's the next project? So you can sort of start to unpick it. But it's really important to honour this as being a brain science. And please don't get a profile from anyone that isn't qualified in this, because it's about the debrief that makes this hold the value, because we debrief you with how to implement this into your career and your life. And this is a very well thought of profile. I think it's now the most popular one in the UK. It's one step beyond DISC and PRISM and Myers-Briggs, because it actually goes into the team dynamic of how the team pulls together and how you, again, talk to people who are not like you. So for example, if you think you're more a processy person, you need to be good at asking other people more of the who questions, because that won't be your natural flow. Equally, if you are, and you've got to value what we call quote unquote soft skills, because they're blooming important. They're just not resonates particularly with you. If you're a who person, please respect their processes. Don't wind them up by not doing what they ask you to do, because you're just going to anger them. Don't poke the bear. Equally, tempos down here, dynamos, please respect the fact that they're going to be hagging you, saying, you haven't called that client back, you said you would. And tempos down here, please respect that dynamos, they think really fast and they want to say things once, but your brain will need, not because you're slow, not by any stretch slow, you just want things to be perfect, so you take longer to process, which is why you often don't put your hand up. You're probably one of those that didn't complete that Slido poll I asked you to do earlier, because you wanted to get it right, so you don't want to get it wrong. Am I resonating with you here? So I'm going to give you my top 5. And by the way, I'm just going to open up the next poll. Guys, I just want you to go, I'm just going to close off that last one and just open up the next one. Please go back to Slido, and it's slido.com on your handset. Come on, Tempos, you can do it too. And if you go hashtag Tame Your Team, the next poll is open, which is just saying, how are you feeling now? Please give me 3 words that you're feeling now, having gone through the bulk of this material. We're about to close up and I'm going to take any questions. So go to slido.com, hashtag Tame Your Team, and please just give me 3 words that you're feeling right now to just, I hope, grab a bit of this positivity and lock that in. Brilliant, the votes are coming in. Thank you, guys. So if you haven't done it yet, go to slido.com, and there's a poll that's open under hashtag Tame Your Team, which is the event ID. And just put in 3 words that you're feeling now. And I hope those are nice ones and you're feeling a bit better about things. I'm going to close with giving you 5 top tips now. So I'm just going to leave that running. Okay, so top tip number 1, set up your headspace. Set up your headspace. This is called Hep-Geckle. This is an exercise I run the minute I open my eyes in the morning, sometimes before I open my eyes if I'm really tired. Ask yourself these 8 questions. What am I happy about today? And think of something. Visualize it. What am I excited about today? What am I proud of? And guys, grab your phone, take a snapshot of this. Hep-Geckle is a really important concept. What am I grateful for? What am I energized about? What am I confident in? What do I know? Who do I love and who loves me? And remember that you are a work in progress, but that you can do so much by going inside before you go outside. So do this every day for me. This is available on my videos that I'm doing under Libby KT Kim Karen. I do a little video every day with kittens to calm the circuits, this piece that I'm telling you now, which is so blooming important. So remember I said we could switch circuits? Here's how to biochemically do that. So to switch from an adrenalized hypothalamic pituitary axis state into a parasympathetic or a dopamine state, we need to stop that fight or flight mechanism. Here's how you do it. You must do 6 longer out breaths and holding it in the middle. So the 2-4-8 pattern is great. Breathe in for 2, hold it for 4, and then breathe out for 8, as if you're trying to blow out a candle, but just make it flicker, not actually go out. So a long, slow out breath. This fools your brain into going, oh, everything must be okay, that tiger must have disappeared. And it switches your circuits for you. So if you do nothing else, guys, do this. Calm the circuits, please. Brilliant, thank you. Those votes are all coming in now. So I'm just going to give you a few more seconds to finish that up, and then I'll close that up and I'm going to open up the last one. So calm the circuits is a brilliant one. Next, move the mountains. Get a nursing structure in place. Make it happen. Don't rely on communications in this difficult time. Get a structure and stick to it. Look after your body while you're doing that. Look after your lymph. That means move your body, because lymph only moves with your skeletal muscular system moving it. It has no pump. So to do that, we must hydrate. Your brain is affected by up to 80% short-term memory loss when you are just 2% dehydrated. So don't forget to drink. Please don't forget to drink. Habit manage. Energy is your currency. And a bit of body worship. Guys, you must look after yourself, even if it's only having a long hot bath and putting on some bloody moisturizer. Do something for you. Take the time to self-care. Don't keep giving it all out. And I know that might feel like a mountain to move, but you've got to do it, because otherwise we're all going to crash. Number 4 is really important. Communicate. We are not built to work like this. We're not built for social distancing. We are chimps. We are the human animal. So build your relationship. Look at how you can jump across that grid and spend time in mind repair. If something breaks, go and fix it. So use the when then mechanism. When you said that to me earlier, then I felt a bit threatened because I didn't feel you were valuing my time or resources. So can we talk about a way of doing it differently? So when you did this, then I felt this. Okay, really powerful. And please book Libby into profile your entire team if you can afford it. This is such a great tool, and I wish I had longer to witter on about it, but I'm going to move on because I can't. But I will happily do a call with any of you. If you're head nurse, get in touch and please get me in. I can do it all remotely now because I've moved all my business online, as I said earlier. And number 5, the final one, just remember behaviour is designed to solve a problem, not be a problem. And that goes for your kids, that goes for your spouse, that goes for all of your colleagues. They're just trying to fix something that hurts. So brain gym it. Think firstly, what's their question? Is it how question? Is it a who question? Try and think about what's their priority. And then don't believe a thought you think. Reframe it as something more positive, because you can always do this, guys. This is always within your power. What am I lacking? Which one of those 6 human needs is being poked? Is it significance? Am I feeling insignificant? Is it certainty? Have I lost a bit of certainty in this? And then how can I get that in other ways? Because usually our behaviours are vehicles to get us to a place. They are vehicles. The angry client, that's a vehicle to help them gain more certainty and significance if they feel they've lost it. So I hope that makes sense. I've gone through that really fast, so I'm really happy to take any questions on all of this, guys. I'm going to close because I'm conscious that your brains are tired and that it's late in the evening and I need to get you back to your families. So this is what we've covered today. We've talked about where anxiety comes from, the mirror neurons, and the threat levels we're suffering at the moment. We've talked about the changes that we're having to roll with the punches on, that loss of certainty in Maslow's hierarchy of needs. We've talked about where the frictions come from when everyone goes first to their chimp behaviours, which is the law of the jungle, which is that emotional, you're hurting me, stop it. And we've talked about how to make it better. We've talked about the how to fix this, which is get a profile and learn how to speak to people who are not like you. And I can help you with all of that, as I say. Let's go and change the world and make it a better place. Thank you for listening. I've just opened up one final poll, which I'll leave running tonight, which is on that Slido, Tame Your Team. Please tell me what's impacted you out of this, because it really does matter to me. My little blaze heart is happy when I hear that I've made a difference. So please do tell me what you're going to take away from this, because the act of doing so commits you to doing things differently. Just by writing it down, there's huge data around this, guys. So just please go and commit to something you're going to do differently, one light bulb moment that you've had from this session. And my final slide, just a reminder, you're doing something really important, guys. The world needs you. You're paid for it, which makes it a mixture of mission, vocation and profession. Hopefully you still love it. I really hope you do. And you're probably pretty great at it by now. So it gives you this central purpose called Ikigai. And I love this concept. So please remember to honour yourselves throughout all of this, because you're doing a fantastic job. So thank you for listening. That's my email if you want to get in touch. I'm giving away those 3 free profiles. It's libby@kemkaren.com, or you can go to my website, which is kemkaren.com, and sign up to my newsletter to stay in touch with all the other free stuff I'm doing. That also comes out on my Facebook page, which is Libby KT Kemkaren. So thanks for having me, guys. I'm ready to take any questions.
Thank you, Libby. That was really interesting and really thought-provoking. And I'm sure everybody wants to have a personality profile done now.
Well, I hope so, Jo. That's the game.
So we do have some time for some questions.
Great.
I will also be sharing a link in the comments for everybody watching on Zoom. And if you have time to complete this short survey, it helps us then create the content that you want to see going forward. Also, this has been recorded, so it will be up on the BVNA Facebook page probably from tomorrow. They tend to go up fairly quickly. I have got a request from somebody, just wondering if you could put back up slide number 1 of the 5 points at the end.
Of course.
I missed that one.
Happy to go back there. So this is HEP-GECL, and that's an acronym. Write it on a post-it note, stick it next to your bed just to trigger you. And literally, I do this when I wake up in the morning. It sets your circuitry for the day in a calm, happy place, and it focuses you on things that are useful. So yeah, really recommend this. Brilliant, thank you. And then we have a bit of a situational one, really, that's obviously causing some anxiety and worry. And it's just from an RVN who is a manager, but she's worried about going back and having to deal with getting to know a new boss. And she just wondered if there are any tips. Yeah, that is a really tricky one. In this I mean, gosh, in this time as well. What a thing to have to deal with. Best thing I can advise for that is, obviously, number one, get a profile and suggest he gets a profile too, or she. But what you can do yourself is I love the phrase, people will tell you their story if you let them. Switch your curiosity button on and just try and learn as much as you can about them in a short space of time. If they're ablaze, they'll welcome you saying, tell me everything about you. If they're a steel, they won't. But you can say to them a sentence that covers both ends of that spectrum, which is, tell me everything I need to know about you. And a steel will love your precision, and they'll zoom straight in on the 3 things that are most important to them. And a blaze will just go, oh, she said, talk to me, here I go. And they'll just be off and running. So by making yourself available to learn, by making yourself available to listen, but phrasing it in that way, tell me everything that's important for me to know, or tell me everything that I need to know about you right now, will be a good opener if you feel comfortable doing that. If you don't, then I'd suggest, because if you're a steel or a tempo, you might feel really uncomfortable with making that first move, drop them an email just saying, just to let you know, I really am a bit anxious about this transition and I'm really looking forward to get to know you. Let me know when we can catch up. And that frames up something that you can then hopefully build on.
Brilliant, thank you. We haven't got any other questions come through that I've seen on the comments.
Okay.
But I have put up there for everybody, if there is something they want to ask, they're concerned about asking on here,
Yes.
or just wants to digest the information and then feed it back. We've put the email for BVNA on there and we can feed that back through to you. Your website is available on the comments as well.
Perfect.
I'll copy it across to the Facebook page.
Thank you, Jo.
But I'll just wait and see if there's anything else that...
Yeah, and I also just want to say to everybody that if you are struggling, I'm really aware of what you guys are dealing with at the moment. I've opened up some booking slots in my diary for the next couple of weeks. There's Thursdays that are available. If you want a free 30-minute Zoom in strategy call, I'm really happy to gift that to you as well. So you just need to go onto my webpage, kimcaron.com, and click on book an initial clarity call. It's free of charge, and I'll call you at the appointed time and we can just get a strategy for you to get through, because I'm keen to help whoever I can, and I know that some of you really are drowning a little bit, and so let's do something about that. And yeah, spread the word if you know a colleague that's struggling as well. I'm really happy to help.
Brilliant, thank you, Libby. That's been really, really good and really informative. And just to say that Wendy's also put on there a link to all of the upcoming webinars that we have coming up in the future as well. But thank you, Libby, and
Pleasure.
thank you everybody for taking your time in the evening to attend. Hopefully it's been really helpful for you. I know it certainly has for me listening. So a huge thank you.
Pleasure, Jo. Thank you so much for having me, and I'll leave that poll open tonight. If you want to commit to your light bulb moments from today, get on there. It's #TameYourTeam on slido.com, and then I'll post the word clouds on your BVNA page as well.
I've just had another last
Okay.
bit. The feedback survey is also going to be emailed to all members who can't follow with the or click the link on the Zoom comments as well. So the survey will be emailed. But
Great
thank
stuff.
you, and thank you.
Thank you so much, Jo.